Good morning. I'm thankful for another week. I hope that you are as well. The launching of the work week. Obviously, our week started yesterday at Faith Baptist Church. It started amazingly with an amazing crowd and not just numbers, but an amazing spirit and anticipation and excitement about the Word of God and the preaching of the Word of God. It was a great day. Just capped off with a great time with a missionary and their family, and we're looking forward to how the Lord is going to use all of that for His glory. Well, the passage that we're going to deal with, we're in First Corinthians chapter 4, and maybe one of the familiar verses as it relates to First Corinthians is chapter 4 and verse 2. Moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. And we know that this is in context of chapter 3, which is talking about the judgment seat of Christ, where every one of us are going to give an account of ourself to God and our stewardship. And it is required. It's not suggested. It's not hoped that people will be faithful. God requires that what He has entrusted to us should be used the way He wants it to be used when He entrusted it to us. And He's going to tell us whether we did that. And so in verse number 1 says, let a man so account of us as of the ministers or the under rowers, the servants of Christ, and stewards of the mysteries of God, the Word of God, the plan of God. We're stewards of that. We're servants to God. In other words, it's not about us. We're the under rowers, which we're the ones that are rowing out of sight where no one sees us, because the most important part that we need to get straight is that the ministry and life is never going to be about us. It's not about drawing attention to ourselves. It's not about getting accolades for ourselves. It is about pointing people to Jesus Christ. What a great, fulfilling purpose that we have to enhance what people think of Christ. And we exist that people might think properly of Him. And that's what we've been entrusted. And that's ultimately everything that God has given to us for this life, whether it's time or talents or treasures or opportunities. These are all things that God has entrusted to us. It's the unrighteous mammon, if you will, of Luke chapter 16, in the sense that these have no eternal use. There's not going to be time in heaven. There's not going to be talents in heaven. There's not going to be money in heaven. There's not going to be these new opportunities that we need to embrace that are in heaven. Heaven is where we are perfected, and we won't even be able to sin, but we will live every day the way God always intended it to, in perfect unity with Him and with each other. What a wonderful truth. And so this unrighteous mammon, these things that have been stewarded to us in this life, are to be used to impact eternity, even though they themselves will not be there, but they're to be used here in order to point people to Christ. And that's the stewardship that's required. And then Paul says, but with me it is a very small thing that I should be judged of you or of man's judgment. Yea, I judge not my own self. He is reminding everyone, listen, I can fool you and I can fool myself, but that doesn't help me at all on Judgment Day. Just because you think I'm a good Christian, just because someone else thinks I'm a wise steward, does not mean that I am. God's going to tell me. Even because I can justify some things doesn't mean that I haven't deceived my own heart. My heart is deceptive above all things and desperately wicked. Jeremiah 17:9 tells me that I am to make sure that I am being honest with what God sees. And so Paul said, listen, I can fool you, I can fool me, for I know nothing by myself, yet am I not hereby justified. But he that judges me is the Lord. In other words, I can justify anything I want to do bad enough. I can make it the will of God. I can make it moral and right. I'm good at justifying stuff. but God is really the one who decides whether something is right or wrong, good or bad. And therefore judge nothing before the time until the Lord come, who will both bring to light the hidden things of darkness and will make manifest the counsels of the heart, and then shall every man have praise of God. In other words, God is not going to reveal sin. God is not going to bring to light the things that you've hidden from everyone else. This is talking about your motives. This is talking about the real reason why you did what you did. And there is no reward in heaven for people who do the right things for the wrong reasons. People who do what they're supposed to do so that they can get praise of man here, recognition of man here, noticed by man here. God says, if that's your motivation, you have your reward. There's going to be nothing in eternity. And so Paul is just reminding us that it is required that not only I do what God has called me to do, but that my motive is out of love for God, in faith, believing God for the glory of God. Those are the three requirements that when I serve God, I need to make sure that I'm doing what I'm doing for God because I love him, because I believe him, and because I want to bring glory to enhance the opinion people have of him. That's why I'm doing it. It's not so people think well of me, so that it improves my image or it improves my reputation. Really, that is not why I should serve the Lord. I should serve the Lord because I love him, in faith, believing him for the glory of God. And I hope that that'll be a motive to you today and for all of us as we serve the Lord today and throughout this week, that we're motivated as good, faithful stewards of which God has entrusted to us. May God bless you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.